Welcome to MuskegonRising, a community service project of the Muskegon Rotary Club. Our purpose is to create lasting positive change. We've been doing that here since 1916. So, let's get started.
Hello, America, and certainly Rotarians, in particular Muskegon Rotarians. This is MuskegonRising, a podcast that highlights members of our community that are pushing the envelope, if you will, for Muskegon and putting it in a positive direction, as well as the members who, the community members that live, work, and play here. And this podcast is being brought to you by the Muskegon Rotary Club under the direction of Michael Vogus, whose ingenuity and brain trust has allowed us to provide this platform with some really great information. And today, I have the privilege and the honor of talking to Kendrah Robinson. And our focus today is aspiring law ladies. And I'm not going to get into the description of that. I'm going to let our esteemed guest do that. But, first and foremost, Kendrah, welcome.
Thank you, DJ.
You're no stranger to these programs that Rotary puts on. I know that you've hosted a few yourself. And as we like to say in the law business, now you're on the other side of the coin. You're in the witness chair, if you will.
I feel the pressure.
Not at council table.
I feel it.
So let's start a little bit, if you could, maybe just introduce yourself. And as part of that introduction, since we're talking about aspiring law ladies, talk a little bit about your journey.
Sure, DJ. I'll just start with my education because that's how it kind of leads.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and went to Ottawa Hills High School, proud Indian, and I went to Western Michigan University where I majored in political science and criminal justice. And DJ, I loved my criminal justice classes. Oh, I loved them. But everybody who I had spoken to about what kind of journey you want to take encouraged me to take political science as a major if I wanted to go to law. So I chose to major in political science. I took all those base courses, and as the classes progressed, I started to meet different professors in law school. I had a few judges who were my professors, and they guided me on the kind of things that I want to probably own in on if I want to practice a particular kind of law, which I had no idea what that would have been. So I decided to go to law school about a year after I graduated in 2004, but I took a little break. And right after undergrad, I journeyed to Africa for a few years, studied abroad at the University of Cape Town, and when I returned, I entered straight into law school. I attended Thomas M. Cooley, and
great law school, by the way.
It is.
There are a lot of alumni.
In our office, as a matter of fact, I'm sure a few in yours as well.
Yes.
We have some judges from Thomas M. Cooley, definitely professors, teachers, some people who don't even practice law, but Thomas M. Cooley has put attorneys all across our nation. So, yes, a fantastic law school. It was a wonderful experience. I met people and have some lifelong friendships from that experience. It was like none other. I learned a lot, but what was trying for me was that the process to getting into law school was completely foreign. I didn't understand what the law school admission test was. I didn't understand how important the GPA was. I did not know that process. And it was only when I decided to go to law school, which was about my junior year in undergrad, that I knew, oh my God, I think I'm a little behind the eight ball here. So with some great inspirations from the professors that I had, they encouraged me to start taking the law school admission test, practice test. And while I didn't do bad in undergrad, I think I graduated just over the B+ range, I quickly found out that the law schools examine your GPA and your law school admission test. And if I had known when I entered into undergrad that if law school was the path I was going to take, I would have known that having any kind of undergraduate degree would have been sufficient for law school, and probably would have majored in criminal justice or dance, which was my second love. I did not do as well as I wanted to in my political science classes, but I just blew it out the water with the criminal justice, and I probably should have switched it. But nonetheless, I ended up at Thomas M. Cooley, and I'm so proud I went to that school. And it was even then I saw now I'm still lost. I struggled through some of the classes, and although I had professors and classes that help you, it's a 3-year process. I did the slower route. I did classes all the way throughout the year, some summer ones, some fall, some winter. I found that I had to take so much more time to understand the material, to retain the material, to regurgitate the material called on. And I knew that if I ever had the opportunity to gauge a young mind on going into law school, I would try to influence them much earlier than when I started, to just get a little bit of it ahead. They have so many courses these days where if you want to go to medical school or trades, we have this at the CTC here, and or nursing. They have so many early education classes, even in our Muskegon Community College, to help you in advancing your career. But I don't find that way in law school. It's not there. You might have a government class. You might have the 3 branches of law, those basic, but who has the process of how to take a law school admission test is vital. And so that's really where the Aspiring Law Ladies thought came from.
So before we get into that program, I want, obviously you mentioned this, and it kind of honed me in on mentorship. And as you described your journey, I think it's quite similar to a lot of people's journeys. But was there a mentor or two that sticks in your head that really, was the guiding principles for you? And can you describe the power of that?
While I was in Western, my favorite professor, I believe he is still a sitting judge. His name is Judge Bridenstine, and he was out of Kalamazoo. And I know as of at least 5 years ago, he was still on the bench. I actually got to see him and talk to him in his chambers, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world. But I remember his excitement when he talked about his classes and his courses and how what he did on an everyday level just mashed right into the law. It made me regurgitate it. It made me retain it. It made me do well on his exams. And I loved his energy and his passion. And I just remember wanting to feel that for something of service. Like you actually get paid to do something that you enjoy doing. And I remember having a conversation with him after our exams, which I did very well in. And he says, if you can do what you love, the money will come. And I knew then it was just a done deal. But I was a junior. But it was Judge Bridenstine by far. Okay. I had a wonderful counselor, and once I got into law school, I also had a wonderful mentor named Holly Rames, who actually prepared the Barbary exam preparatory classes. Yeah. And as you know, those who are taking law school have to take the bar, and the materials are even its own course in itself. And she was a vital, wonderful resource about how to write a Michigan bar exam or how to go through multiple choice questions and eliminate the obvious wrong ones. A skill that you just don't know unless you need to.
Right.
So those two are probably the most influential in my legal walk.
All right. So take that, those, and now describe for me Aspiring Law Ladies and why you had this calling to be sort of pay it forward as a mentor.
I found that starting in undergraduate years was still too late for me. I of course made it, but it wasn't as smooth or easy as it could have been. And what I did find out was that a lot of my college colleagues already knew they were going into law school when they entered. They picked the school that they wanted to go to depending on what they wanted their career to be. And I know a lot of people go into their undergraduate careers and they don't know exactly what they're going to go into. But usually, if that's a walk, you want to know in advance. And I found that they had already practiced the law school admission test. I'm like, how did you do that? Well, my uncle was an attorney, or my father's a judge, or I know somebody in the legal career. And I knew no one in my family who was in the legal career. And so I decided that if I could start a little bit earlier than the undergraduate years, obviously high school, then maybe that would be at least a head start for those who had the thought that law school might want to be something they want to go into. Should I tell you how it kind of started?
Please.
All right. So it was 1 year pre-COVID, and I was just sitting in my living room, and I'm like, okay, how do I reach these high school girls? Because that's where I wanted to start with, people who I think I could relate to most closely. And my husband says, well, I don't know, call a superintendent and see if they don't mind you coming to their school. I'm like, okay, that's a good start. And the first superintendent I called was Mr. Cortez, who's over the Muskegon Public Schools. We sat down at a lunch table during the summertime, and he says, you know what, Kendrah, I would love to have you in my schools. How does the program look? I said, I don't know. Can you help me shape it? It's brand new. All I want to do is make sure that I could tell them some information. And literally, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have an outline. I didn't have anything. All I had was a thought. And he says, come back to me in about 2 months and let me know what you think. That 2 months became 6, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And he met with me again, and he says, I don't even know if my school is going to be open, but if it is, you're welcome to it. By then, I had an outline and a strategy and a plan. And the thought was that I would walk the ladies through step by step what that process was to get into law school, what law school looked like, and exiting law school, the different areas of law you could practice. So I was able to, the next step of recruitment happened. And so I said to Mr. Cortez, what do? He says, I don't know. You're going to talk to the high school principal, the secretaries, they're yours. I'm like, okay. So I go in one day, and I was met with one of the guidance counselors and one of the assistant principals, and they literally said, you know what, well, let's go to the lunch tables. And so I had a notepad, and I literally walked around the students' lunch for about a week and a half straight. Just every lunch, I just came by and said, hey, do you want to go to law school? Are you interested in law? 99% of everybody said no. But at the end of the week, with some pushing from some staff, I had about 4 ladies. And by the time these 4 ladies signed up, the word had got on a little bit. I ended up that first year with about 7. 3 extra ladies joined in at the very end. And it was so much fun, DJ. Oh, it was so much. I think I got more of it out of it than the ladies did. I was able to show them what a law school admission test prep book looks like. I emphasized how their GPA in undergrad was so important. Do what you love, get the high GPA, and then practice for the law school admission test. And throughout the months, I would meet with them, and we would do the first year of law school, and the second year, and the third. And I actually kept every single last one of my texts. So they got to feel and touch a real law school book to see what a constitutional law book felt like, or I don't know, criminal law. I kept them, and they got to see what a blue book would look like and how it was written and how it was graded. At the very end of our course, we came together and we actually did like a Jeopardy of the bar. And so I actually kept all of my Barbie materials, and we literally took a mock bar in the class, and they just loved it. They did a mock trial of some, like, you can do those litigation kind of mock trials in school. They got a little taste of what it feels like to do that in practice those last years of law school. And they finally got to do the celebration, which I believe you joined us in with last year, which was I invited ladies who were sitting on the bench as we speak, some judges who were in Lansing and Detroit, and Supreme Court justices that were willing to come, and they got to ask them questions that I probably couldn't answer from a public defender standpoint. And they were just so excited. Now, at the time, we're in COVID, so this stuff was on Zoom. We were in a room, and it was fresh after COVID. And they joined us, and it was such a wonderful thing. The program started really kicking off about 2021 with those 7 to 8 kids from Muskegon High School, but now it's extended, and it's throughout our entire county. This year, we celebrated with almost 51 students. So it was wonderful. That's
fantastic. So obviously from the seed of the idea, obviously I'm assuming it expands year after year. What for young ladies that are interested, what are they setting themselves up for? In other words, what are you doing as it relates to now connecting with more than just Muskegon Public, but now trying to reach as many school districts? How does that look?
The actual process, or hopefully what we could get once they complete the program? Okay. Well, first and foremost, I'm a public defender right here in our county, and I know that retention is an issue, not only in our office, I'm sure it is in yours, but I know that working with the people we work with in the capacity that we do, that if people who truly love to serve people come back to this place, they'll love it. They'll love giving back. They'll love the practice. They'll love the connection you'll have with your community in no better way possible than in the service of maybe most vulnerable parts of people's lives. And hopefully the process of going through the Aspiring Law Ladies and actually going to law school, if they're interested, will bring them back here. That's the ultimate goal here. We want people to come back here, and I don't care if you're of color or not. We want people who are passionate and want to serve to come back home, I, after this year, was able to see the first kind of fruits of our labor. A young lady from Whitehall High School called me, and she said, I'm in my first year of schooling at U of M. I graduated from the Aspiring Law Ladies. That's the word she used. It made me feel good. Like, oh, okay, I got like a Aspiring Law Ladies University. But she said, I graduated last year, Kendrah. I said, I remember you. And she says, I would love to come back to Muskegon for my summer break and do an internship. Our director happily said yes. She'll actually be coming back. And she says, I'm already majoring in dance and minoring in political science. And I want to go into law. And I said, I am so happy. She says, it's my intent that once I finish, I will go into law school and I want to come back to Muskegon. What way and what area she practices, I don't care.
Yeah.
But look at what happened. And they maybe wouldn't even thought of that if they weren't introduced into this area so early. So
what does the curriculum look like now? When the class starts, what are the phases? What are they learning?
Good question.
And how are you managing being in 9 places at the same time?
Oh, it's been a transition, DJ. Well, first of all, Muskegon was our first pioneer school, right? So at that time, it was during they call it their, it's like a prep hour. No one has class. And my director graciously gave me those 30 minutes off to go and visit during that time. And it was very small and it was concise and it was quick. It was easier at that time. Mm-hmm. But as the program grew, with the second and third year, I was literally driving to every one of these 9 schools around town. And while Muskegon is a very small county, from top to bottom or east to west, it's a 28-mile trip. Yep. One way. And it was being trying on my schedule. I usually only have my lunch hours, and the principals were very, very helpful in working with my schedule. But I didn't want the children to be shorthanded because of my schedule. So as the program grew, I was able to speak with the president of our Muskegon Community College, and he graciously opened the doors to the community college and said, you know what, if you can coordinate with the schools to transport the students, our facility is yours. And instead of you driving to 9 different places, 9 places can come to you. So this past year, I spoke with every single last superintendent of our county, and 10 schools said yes. 7 of them participated, and they all made sure the ladies got to Muskegon Community College. And instead of the 9 or the 7 months of me traveling became 3 full sessions. So I condensed what would have been 30-minute sessions over 6 months to 3 2-hour sessions. And each one of those sessions are broken down into the first year law school, the second, the third, with the bar, and then celebration. So the curriculum itself hasn't really changed. It's just more condensed into more of a kind of lecture style, but we're still very interactive. But we're together now instead of me coming out.
That's fantastic. Well, and maybe you've kind of said this, and I'd like your comments on, what I've always loved is the collaborative spirit of our community.
Oh, yes.
And it seems like you have felt that tenfold. I mean, how, and I don't know if obviously you've come from Grand Rapids, and if you've had a chance to visit some other areas of our state, but could you describe, the difference that Muskegon offers when it comes to collaboration?
Sure. I left Grand Rapids going straight into Western. I have not returned living. I went to college. I went to college again, got married, and came to Muskegon. But in my different journeys to school, I was an undergrad in Kalamazoo, in law school in Lansing, temporarily in Detroit, just a little bit for some intern work. I can tell you that with my own personal experience, I just feel like if you reach out, people come back. It's like people are grasping in this community for people to want to volunteer. And I think that's such a huge thing that Rotarians are there for, to reach out, you talk about service above self. I have not reached out to any superintendent, to any principal who has been responsive to me that said, absolutely not. No way. You're not coming into our schools and teaching our kids some free information. No way. The parents are reaching out to me. Can I come to the session next year to sit with my daughter? I'm looking like, I don't know how to say no to that. but I feel that, our youth are us, right? We're not going to be here forever. They are our future attorneys. They're our future judges. They're our future nurses and doctors. And for the people that I've reached out to, at least in this aspiring law ladies aspect, they have been so overwhelmingly welcome from the staff at Muskegon Community College. I call my third-party connections at the school, like my liaisons. They're just wonderful. I annoy them all week long with emails, and they're just so kind and so patient. It's okay, Kendrah, we got it. And the students' responses, I just feel like no matter, I haven't had that opportunity to really try to give back in other communities as much as this one, but I can tell you that anybody who wants to come into the Muskegon County and give of themselves, we have people who are more than ready and willing to receive. I'm so happy to be here.
That's awesome. So let's talk about, obviously the title of your group is Aspiring Law Ladies. And what about that aspect of it was important to you? Why that, I'll just say that title, that gender, right? What about, your experience or what you're experiencing now? Why is that? Why is it so important that we drive some, fuel some of maybe that passion that is just laying there waiting to be, sparked?
In my personal experience, you don't deal with the legal system unless you have to, right? Unless someone's forcing you to, or you've been defaulted into it, or it's usually not by choice. But I believe the practice of law is by choice. And a lot of people don't know they even want to unless somebody introduces them to it. Like, no idea. And I know that as I spoke to some of the other kids in Muskegon High during that first year, to hear so many people say, I want to be a vet. I'm okay. Or I want to be a nurse. No, thank you. But yet they came. They were like the first two to sign up. And I don't know if either of them are interested in law now, but it's inspiring because you know what? At this stage in your life, you really don't know all the way what you want. And especially if somebody hasn't given you the opportunity to choose it. And so I think that's more where the title came from. You may not want to go into law, but let me give you a little bit just for you to consider just in case. Aside from that, the ladies part, I know that there are guys who are interested in going into law. They used to try to follow me down the hallway, and one actually sat outside the class in Muskegon in the hallway, in the new hallway they're renovating there. Like, Miss Robinson, can I just listen? I'm like, go ahead, you can listen. But for me, there are some things as ladies, as women, that we will go through that the male gender won't be able to relate to, right? This was at a time a very dominated area of men. And I know that women are infiltrating it every single day in all areas of legal practice. But one thing I do know is that in the practice of law, it still can be a lonely place. And so I personally could connect with ladies. I personally had that experience. And while I'm not saying it won't be ever extended to men or young adults, young men, right now it's the better place for me to relate to those who I know may have shared my walk.
Yeah, well, and look, speaking as a male and an attorney, I applaud the efforts because I think it's really important. When we talk about fair playing fields and we talk about opportunities, it has to be open,
right?
And I think just as a commentary here, and I'll come up with a question as I get there. But certainly, having young women, having people that they can look up to and say, "Well, man, I mean, if she can do it, I certainly can do it."
That's right.
And that to me, I think is really important. I have a daughter, and I want her to, whatever it is, to look to somebody in that profession who is a female, saying, "Well, if she can do it, then I can do it.
So can I."
So that's critically important. That's critically important.
Absolutely.
So I for anybody who would say, "Well, you got to include the guys," I say, forget that. Forget that. The aspire, especially in our area, in Muskegon, right? They need some of that inspiration, I think.
Very true.
I think. So talk to me about the celebration and how important that is, and what you're trying to accomplish with that with these young women.
DJ, right before I decided to do a celebration for the ladies, I spoke to a few of my colleagues who happened to be men and want to know what was their perspective of what they believe these ladies would need if they got so much of a public defender. And they were just shooting out the different kind of legal fields, and some I didn't even know existed. A lot of people don't know that attorneys can graduate from law school and never take the bar and just use their legal knowledge for different areas of practice. I did a little Google search one day, and I read that there's about 500 to 600 different careers that a person graduating from law school with just the experience can use in different practices. But most people see people graduating from law school just as an attorney, right? Criminal defense or a prosecutor. And it's just so much more than that. And I wanted to give the ladies an opportunity to speak and see people not only who are practicing law, but people who had to make decisions over legal cases, but also people who were in the legal practice who never even seen a courtroom. And while I felt like I only could give them one aspect, that's what my focus on the celebration was. The ladies that I chose and choose are very intentional, and I wanted ladies of color. I wanted ladies who you might say were seasoned. I wanted young ones. I wanted people who weren't in the court. I want people who were in the court on the other aisle, just so that are you seeing that the ladies are diverse? They're coming from urban areas, rural areas, all over the county, different demographics, different financial statuses in their homes, and different opportunities. Some people maybe do know some judges. Maybe some people do know lawyers. Some of them don't know anyone at all. I wanted to have a wide variety. And so the first year, the thought was, who could I go to? And literally the people who I chose were mentors to me. They were people who have called me and said, Kendrah, I met you somewhere, and we just had a relationship. And the second and third year celebration were based specifically upon what their practice was. I was so happy about this year's panel. We had an attorney from the Attorney Grievance Commission. She's responsible for writing the investigations of attorney misconduct in our state. She doesn't go to court, but yet she's almost like a private investigator, right? And very thorough on research and writing, which is huge in a lot of different ways. We had our Supreme Court Justice, Elizabeth Welch, visiting us. And as you know, what she determines our ultimate cases in our state. We had a prosecutor from your office join us, and she can give her perspective from a different side of the aisle. We also had a senior public defender there who had also done civil law. So we had a very range of different people that the ladies could relate to, and they had to write questions out in advance. I sent them home with homework one time, and I was so proud they all came back, and they were just so ready and willing to ask these questions. But that's the thought of the celebration, to make it diverse, to make it wide range, to give you an ideas of the different practice you can go to and go into with a legal education that you may not have thought of.
So what does the future hold for aspiring law ladies? I mean, where do you see, I mean, are you happy? I mean, this is kind of a weird question, but are you happy where it's at, or are you having visions of how this might expand?
I can tell you, I like the location we're at.
Yeah.
I love that I'm saving about 60 miles a month.
Yep.
So if it's to continue, which I hope it will, my hope is that it can truly have 100% of the high schools in our county participate. I extend it to all the public high schools, and at this point, there's only 2 public high schools that have not. But then we also have Catholic and Christian high schools as well. And I would like to extend it to those schools as well. And it's easier now since there's only one location to come to. So that is my hope for the upcoming year, that the invitation will definitely be extended, and I hope they receive. I would hope that with the Aspiring Law Ladies, as it grows, MCC has rooms as big as 200 people can sit in. So I don't mind the numbers growing. That's a plus to me. That maybe that I might need to get some staff to help, some assistance. But past that, ultimately, I hope as the program grows, that these ladies ultimately come back here. So I would love to see that, DJ.
So what would it mean to you, and this is sort of looking into the future, but how is it going to make you feel that first phone call you get and say, hey, Kendrah, I just graduated from law school? Oh,
I'm going to jump up and down. I'm going to ask if I can swear them in and be their mentor. And I don't know. I want to take pictures. It's going to be all over Facebook. It'll touch my heart. It really will. Oh, my goodness. Somebody who actually took the advice, who the advice helped and encouraged them, and they did the actual walk and the work to get here. That's priceless. That's priceless for our community, and it's just wonderful for them. I would just be ecstatic.
So, sort of to kind of put a bow on this conversation, how do people who might be listening or watching this podcast get involved with Aspiring Law Ladies? Where do they go? What do they need to do in order to be part of your program?
Well, I will happily give out my email address, which is KENANG2002@Yahoo. You can always email that. That's just my basic email address. I check it daily. But for the administration and staff, I'll be in touch with all the high schools as I normally do around early August. So I send a county-wide email to all the superintendents saying, hey, do I have the okay to go into your schools again? They usually throw me out to their assistant principals, guidance counselors, whoever the communication liaison will be. And I follow up, and I am vicious on it. I want all the students who want to be involved in it, and I will make myself available for them to join. Usually there's an announcement in the school, and these contact people for me in these schools, they're so wonderful. They literally communicate to every single last student every single week or month that I have to come in, or they're coming to me. And so they're great to get the communication out. So if there is someone listening and watching who wants to be involved, all I have to say is just wait, because I will be coming to a school near you.
Fair enough. Well, thank you, Kendrah, for following that little seed of an idea and providing.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, providing, like I said, pouring a little gasoline on that passion that might have been simmering in some of our ladies in this county, and
absolutely
giving them somebody to look up to. So thank you for that.
Thank you. DJ, wait, quick question. Your daughter goes to what school?
She goes to Muskegon Catholic.
Okay, Muskegon Catholic. Watch out. Here we go.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up our program for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank Kendrah for being willing to be a guest on this podcast, this episode. It'll be streaming soon in your favorite podcast locations as well as online. And again, this program doesn't happen without the support of our Muskegon Rotary, but it is the brainchild and all the behind-the-scenes efforts of Mike Vogus that truly makes this engine go. So thank you, Mike. Until the next time, have a great day.